We're going to be talking about interfaces. And no, I'm not talking about programmatic interfaces. I'm going to be talking about graphical interfaces. It turns out there is a fairly set, I almost want to say standard, for creating tools that create graphical user interfaces. And there's a lot of common concepts that we can start to see along the way. What I want to cover today is the core concepts, not of any specific tool, but how concepts are bridged across graphical user interface tools, and of course, how they are implemented in textual, as that is our main star of the day. And we'll be addressing the question, well, does it live up to the hype? And let's get started with our interfaces and metaphors. Whenever we're creating any application, we really need to understand how is our end user going to interact with this program, or more specifically, how is our end user going to interact with their computer? And it turns out that we have two primary modalities that we interact with computers in, and that's going to be through your keyboard or through your mouse. Now, there are, of course, going to be different input channels, but these are our primary ones that we consider when creating programs that run, of course, on our computer or different applications. And so in our keyboard-driven environment, we have, of course, the command line interface, or a classic CLI. And from here, I can run just a couple of shell scripts. We have the ability, or CLIs do give us the ability to what we call poke from the outside, meaning I can pass arguments in. And if that's all your CLI can do, then I would say that you do not have a fully featured command line interface, because if you are taking in inputs, chances are you're also producing output, and it is very useful for your end user, for your audience, to be able to do useful things with that output. And this is what the command line is all about. We're able to pass in input, we're able to consume output and transform it along the way. For example, I can pipe the output of my date operation into my translate operation, swapping out all lowercase alpha characters to uppercase alphabetic characters. And so I have kind of this idea that I can provide inputs, I can have outputs, and the best part, in my opinion, of our command line interface is that we can stream more and more data into a running process. And that is something that is actually quite hard when it comes to the more graphical layer. So, well, how do we create an actual command line interface? Well, it's fairly straightforward if we use Python. This, of course, we're going to be talking a lot about Python today. We can use the argparse library to create our most basic CLI, and I'm going to mimic the actual date command that we just saw. And so I'm creating a command line program here that takes in one input that's a format, and it's going to default to our fully specified year, month, day, hours, minutes, and seconds. And this parser.parse args is effectively going to reach up to the inputs from the command line. It's going to parse them and then store all of my variables in this args variable. Now, before I actually run this program, I'll show you what args actually contains. It is a namespace. And this lets me have dotted accession to any argument that I've added here. And so I can do things like call datetime.now, what's my current datetime, and then format it according to the specification I've passed in. And in this case, I've passed in today is ... and then just year, month, and day. We can do more abstract things with our formats than just supply our date time formatters. We can even supply surrounding text. So it is a fairly powerful program. And since I'm familiar with Python, I know how this string formatting works within this small realm. It does work fairly uniformly across multiple applications. But here's the thing. I have not touched my mouse once yet this entire presentation. This is still just a pure keyboard interface. There's nothing to click on, there's nothing meaningful to click on. And so I can take this program and simply work on it just using text. Now, our second environment, the way in which we interact with programs, will be mouse-driven events. And for our mouse-driven features, we have our native graphical user interfaces. You could use something like PyQt4. Here, we're using tkinter, and the thing that I like about tkinter is that anywhere that you have Python installed, you can spawn a tkinter app. Of course, you'll also need the underlying tk library, but that comes installed on your standard operating systems, and if you're on Linux, it's easy enough to install using your package managers. And so all I'm going to do here is we're going to create one application, and we have a single button as well as an input field. This is where we start using our mouse. I'm able to click on things, and I can use these clicks to drive events or to spawn other chains. I still do have some keyboard interactivity here. One thing to be aware of is that when I was speaking previously about the interactivity you get from the keyboard from a command line program or a shell-based program, it's very different than what we use the keyboard for in our graphical user interfaces. Typically, in our graphical user interfaces, your keyboards will be either for shortcuts or it will be to input text. In the previous case, we saw that the keyboard was used to actually provide the inputs and outputs for the program, as well as manipulate the behaviors of the program itself. Whereas our keyboard exists within the program, and we're only able to enter things or bind events to keys. Speaking of which, instead of exiting out of the top left hand, or at the X on the top right hand side of my screen, I of course bound my Q button to quit the application. So you can't enter the Q button, the Q key, into that text box we just saw there. Now, what about our web-based graphical user interfaces? We have a lot of different choices. There are a huge amount of web-based graphical user interface tools, things that provide to you all of the escape hatches in the world and maybe a little bit too much code for your taste or too verbose. And we have a lot of boilerplate reduction mechanisms. Now, to kind of separate these, the first web-based or the most basic web-based graphical user interface or graphical user toolkit will be just your raw HTML. You can supply a lot of interactivity just using HTML and JavaScript. Simplifying that layer, making it more convenient to work with and more responsive, you'll have tools like React. Now here I'm sticking with the pure Python approach. Specifically, I'm going to be using Panel. And in Panel, we're taking a lot of the same concepts that we would see in a framework like React. We're reducing the complexity just by a little bit because we're keeping everything in the Python world. And as such, we are letting some of the more in-depth decisions be made for us. And what that means is it's going to be convenient to create an application using this toolkit, but it's not going to be the most exhaustive. I'm not going to have the tightest control over absolutely everything. Let's go ahead and take a look at what this application looks like. It's very, very similar to the tkinter application that we saw above. I, for example, have a button, and I also have an input area where I can edit text. Now, we'll get into the ins and outs of each of these tools as well as their core concepts, but what if we had a program that could be both mouse-driven and keyboard-driven? This is what our terminal user interfaces are largely about. Now, I can show you programs like cat, and you might think, oh, cat, that's just a very basic program. It's not a terminal user interface. Well, it turns out, if you just drop a raw cat into your session, I can go down here into my pane that's running cat, and I can type absolutely anything that I want. And if I hit enter, we end up running our translate command. And so I would consider cat to drop us into a special version or a terminal user interface, as it lets me write text and receive responses based on that text. Now I can, of course, I've piped this output into translate just as we saw before. And so this is an extremely simple TUI. Is it useful? Not necessarily, but it does give us the idea of interactivity within our terminal. Whereas before, with our CLI approach, all we could do was poke the outside or grab input that has been produced or stream something in differently. With this type of interactivity, I can absolutely change what it is that I'm doing dynamically on the fly. And so we get a little bit of both worlds here. I won't say that this is as the terminal user interfaces will be as programmatically robust as a classical command line interface, but let's see what our star of the day, Textual, has to share with us. So, Textual is comprised of actually a lot of modern considerations in terms of graphic design, or graphical user interface design, I should say. And so its tools reflect a lot of modern components, things like reactive attributes or reactive variables that go on to then process updates to my view. Now, this is something for all of these graphical user interfaces we did not even need to consider for our basic CLI. For our basic command line interface, all we need to do is just echo or print some output to our screen, and chances are we're more than happy with that. With our terminal user interfaces, we do need to consider our actual layout. Now, Textual is component driven, meaning that we produce components that are then composed, and you can change the default composure. Right now, Textual simply creates pieces that are going to either know where to place themselves in your terminal or on your screen, I'll use on your screen, or are going to be placed by the parent, the thing that's composing them. And so what we can see here is that I've created an application, I've placed a button in the center of my screen, and I'm catching an event. This is one of the approaches you can use in Textual to respond to events, but effectively, you're going to, on the broad application, have your event and have what happens when that event is triggered. Now, one thing that I will note with this design, I am personally not in love with it because it is very magical, right? If I click on this button, then I end up invoking my next color action. And what my next color action does is it iterates or changes the background color of my button to the next in my list of cycled colors. So I can click on my button here, and we see very clearly that it's changing color over and over and over again. And the more I click, right, of course, it's going to continue changing color. This event, this on button pressed event, if it's not explicitly stated in the documentation, it can be tricky to track down what exactly qualifies as an event here. What is something that I can actually respond to? Now, there is another interface for this that I'll get to in a little bit, but we can also have the convenience of responding to events, not necessarily, or triggering events, I should say, not just with clicks, but with keyboard bindings. And you can see in your application class, by defining some bindings, you can link together a keyboard button, so my C button on my keyboard, to the method name, and have it be an actual, and have it have a nice name as well. All of your button hints or button bindings in Textual will appear on the footer of your screen. You see this blue bar down here at the bottom of my screen. So I'll go ahead and restart this program. You can see I have a brand new button or a brand new widget down here on the bottom of my screen. It says next color. So I can click on my button in the center of the screen to change the background color. I can click down on my footer to trigger that same binding that changes my color. Or now I can use my keyboard binding. I can click the C button. And you see that we progressed through my colors with any one of these inputs. So the terminal gives us, or the terminal user interface, specifically Textual, gives us very easy ability to respond to mouse events, but also respond to keyboard events. This is in the same fashion as our traditional graphical user interface, though, meaning that our keyboard inputs exist within the user interface and are not external to. Meaning, if I want to interact with things that are external to my user interface here, I cannot simply chain commands or pipe commands into it. I would need to actually have my user interface reach out and start or stop or interact with other commands or other ongoing processes. And so that is all the discussion that I wanted to get through for our interfaces and metaphors. Now I want to take some of these tools and do a much deeper dive. Specifically, Textual has a very nice demonstration for creating what they refer to as a stopwatch application. And so I'll be using each of the approaches that we've seen here: command line interface, graphical user interface, both native and web, and then of course Textual itself, to produce a stopwatch application.